welcome to the Mage Artifact Weapons for Legion. Today we're going to be going over the Arcane, Fire, and DPS specs for your artifact weapons. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Arcane. Manipulate the arcane destroying enemies with overlain power. Equip. Grants the Mark of a Luneth ability, which places a rune on the ground that explodes for massive damage after a short delay. And when you gain an arcane charge, you have a chance to trigger a force bolt, dealing damage. This damage is increased the longer force bolt is not triggered. For the starting ability in Legion, you are going to have Mark of the Luneth. Creates a rune prison at the target location, slowing enemy movement speed by 70%, inflicting arcane damage over 6 seconds, then detonating for arcane damage equal to 15% of your maximum mana. That's nuts. Your next ability here, Might of Guardians, increases arcane damage dealt by 5%. Arcane Purification, increases damage dealt by arcane explosion by 10%. Blasting Rod, increases damage dealt by arcane blast by 6%. Aegwyn's Imperative, increase the duration of arcane power by 6%. Aegwyn's Fury, increase damage dealt by arcane missiles by 6%. Everywhere at Once, increase the window of active displacement by 1 second and reducing the cooldown of displacement by 2 seconds. So at max, that's going to be 3 seconds and 6 seconds. The first epic ability you could come across is Touch of the Magi. Arcane Blast has a chance to apply Touch of the Magi, accumulating 10% of the damage you deal to the target for 6 seconds, then exploding for that amount of arcane damage to the target and all nearby enemies. Mana Shield increases damage absorbed by Ice Barrier by 100%. Your next epic ability you could come across is Rule of Threes. You have a 33% chance to fire 3 additional arcane missiles. Aegwyn's Ascendance. When evocation completes, it explodes for arcane damage equal to 12% of the mana it restored. So what that sounds like is you're going to want to burn all your mana, evocate, and then you'll have a huge explosion at the end. Ethereal Sensitivity. Spells have a 3% chance to activate arcane missiles. Slow Down. Slow applies to all enemies within 5 yards of your target. Crackling Energy. Increases the radius of arcane explosion by 4 yards. Torrential Barrage. Increase the damage dealt by arcane barrage by 10%. Aegwyn's Wrath. Increase critical strike chance by 3%. And your last but not least epic ability is Arcane Rebound. When Arcane Barrage hits more than 2 targets, it explodes for additional arcane damage to all enemies within 10 yards of the primary target. This will conclude the Arcane Mage. Let's go ahead and move on to our Fire Mage. Fire Mage will be Felmalorn, and your artifact equip effects. You periodically accumulate Fire Orbs. Flame Orbs. Flame Orbs Cause your Fire Blast to be replaced by Phoenix Flame. Grants the Phoenix Flame ability, which hurls destructive fire at all enemies near your target. So your first ability when you will be getting in here in Legion is Phoenix Flames. Hurls a phoenix that causes fire damage to the target and splashes fire damage to nearby enemies. So fire is probably still going to be remaining the AoE build spec. Wings of Flame. Increase fire damage you deal by 5%. Blue Flame Special. Increase damage dealt by Flame Strike by 15%. Great Balls of Fire. Increase damage dealt by Fireball by 15%. Molten Skin. Molten Armor reduces all physical damage you take by an additional 10%. Big Mouth. Increase the range of Dragon's Breath by 3 yards. Scorched Earth. Casting Scorch 6 consecutive times triggers a hot streak. Ever Burning Consumption. Increase the damage dealt by Ignite by 10%. And your first epic ability is Phoenix Reborn. Targets affected by your Ignite have a chance to erupt in flame, taking additional fire damage and reducing the remaining cooldown of Phoenix Flame. Come back on up here. Cauterizing Blink. Activating Blink heals you for 60% of maximum health over 6 seconds. Aftershocks. Flame Strike calls down 1 additional pillar of fire each time it casts. Pyroclasmic Paranoia. Increases damage dealt by Pyroblast by 10%. Reignition Overload. Increases damage dealt by Inferno Blast by 24%. And this is temporary, which means it's probably not going to stay. Your next epic ability is Pyretic Incarnation. Each consecutive critical strike you deal increases critical strike chance damage you deal by 5%. Fire at Will. Reduces the cast time of Fireball by 10%. Burning Glaze. Increases flame critical strike damage you deal by 10%. And last but not least, Blast Furnace. Inferno Blast deals an additional fire damage over 9 seconds. This is the Fire Mage. Let's go ahead and move on to our Frost Mage. Eben Chill, Great Staff of Alodi. Replaces Frostbolt with Even Bolt. Grants the Even Bolt ability, which deals massive Shadow Frost damage to a single target. And your first ability here is Even Bolt. Deals Shadow Frost damage and grants 2 charges of Fingers of Frost. Shattering Bolts increases the critical strike chance of Frostbolt by 15%. The Storm Rages increase the critical strike chance of Blizzard by 30%. By 15%. Let It Go. Increase the critical strike chance of Ice Lance by 15%. Chain Reaction. Frostbolt critical strikes empower Ice Lance, increasing damage by 30%. Ice 9. Frostbolt has a chance to generate 2 icicles. Shield of Elodie. Increased damage absorbed by Ice Barrier by 60%, by 100%. Jouster. When Ice Lance deals damage, you take 3% less damage for 6 seconds. Your first epic ability you could come across is It's Cold Outside. Your water elemental casts Jagged Shard instead of Water Bolt. Jagged Shard deals frost damage to the target and has a 0% chance to generate one frost shard, figurative frost. Your next ability is Black Ice. Even Chill has a chance to empower icicles, increasing damage done by 100%. Frozen Veins. Frostbolt Critical Strike. Reduces the remaining cooldown on Icy Veins. Icy Caress. Increase damage done by Frostbolt by 10%. Clarity of Thought. Frostbolt has an additional 3% chance to activate Brain Freeze, so 10%. Icy Hand. Increase the maximum charge of Finger of Frost by 1. Ice Age. Increase critical strike damage of Frozen Orb by 45%. Orbital Strike. Increase damage done by Frost Orb by 30%. And last but not least, your last epic ability is Chilled to the Core. Activating Icy Veins encases you in ice, increasing frost damage by 20%. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and have fun, guys.